Congratulations, 2022-2023 NBA champions, Denver Nuggets, 100% well deserved. Greatness personified for Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray, Aaron Gordon, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Michael Porter, Bruce Brown, Christian Brown, Mike Malone, and everybody on that staff in that organization. 47 long years for basketball immortality, basketball greatness, the greatest day in Denver Nuggets history, cemented in the basketball history books. Nikola Jokic, the best player in the world, led his team to an NBA title, did it flawlessly. 16-4 this postseason, becoming the first player to lead anybody in points, rebounds, and assists in a single playoff run. The greatest player today, Nikola Jokic. NBA champions, Denver Nuggets. What an incredible achievement. Basketball at the highest of highs, at the mile high. The Miami Heat now can say bye-bye. Basketball legacy. When you look at greatness, you look at all these players over the years, their special skills, their abilities from when they came into the league to be able to accomplish what they do, giving us fans, audience, just something that we never seen before. And Nikola Jokic, one of a kind player in our generation, as we're witnessing in 2023. Nikola Jokic, truly a one-of-one prodigy, a 7-footer who can do it all offensively, makes the game easy for his teammate from scoring to passing to rebounding. He was absolutely sensational in this postseason, in this era of basketball, where players are supposed to be stronger, faster, more athletic, more skilled. You can scratch the more athletic part as long as you're skilled and you have IQ. Jokic continues to prove doubters wrong, and all his doubters tonight are super silence. Super silence, all the critics. You can shove it down deep. So there you have it. The Nikola Jokic, congratulations to all you Denver Nugget fans out there. This is a great day for you guys to celebrate. The parade's going to be Thursday. Denver's going to be lit. Laumer Street's going to be lit. The Denver Nuggets, the sports arena, walking distance from the Denver Broncos, walking distance from the Colorado Rockies, all those bars in Laumer Street. The city of Denver is going to be super, super lit. Probably the littest the city's been since Peyton Manning led them to the Super Bowl. But we're just living in greatness right now, and we should all be in awe of Nikola Jokic, his humble personality, not really caring about the stats. He just cares about his family and teammates and making the best decisions and excelling at his craft. He might not be the flashiest guy or the biggest eye-popping. He's not going to say much, but what he puts into the game, you can see his work speaks for itself. The way he prepares, the way he trains, the way he makes the right play, the way he plays basketball, absolutely excelling at the highest level, man. Nikola Jokic, he is one of the best basketball players that I have ever seen, and he's going to go down as one of the all-time greats as we're looking years from now, as Jokic is going to continue to elevate his legacy, and he's in the top 20 category right now, but I don't want to go into all the rankings just yet because this is a day to celebrate for the Denver Nuggets, the mile high, waiting since the NBA merger, joining the San Antonio Spurs as NBA champions. And this organization, this franchise, the way that they rebuilt it, the way they got the nice pieces, the defensive specialists, the KCPs, and the Bruce Browns, all making incredible plays down the stretch to sacrifice their bodies. This fourth quarter, this basketball game, this game 5 of the NBA Finals, this was the most exciting game I watched this season, especially in the fourth quarter. Yes, the game might have been ugly at first. The game, a lot of missed shots, but this is the basketball I grew up watching. Defensive-minded, hard to score, and the refs were letting them play. Jokic and Bam Adebayo, it seemed like they were going to fight out there. But also, thank you guys for joining in right now. I'm also going to give credit to the Miami Heat for an incredible, improbable run. They deserve a lot of credit for what they accomplished this season. Heat fans probably really disappointed and upset right now, but this team, the Heat culture is absolutely real. They are real, and they're going to be real for many years to go. Eric Spoelstra, phenomenal job. All playoffs, honestly. Jimmy Butler didn't play his best in the finals. He saved everything until the fourth quarter when he had 11 straight points. But man, did he miss that ugly turnaround shot. And man, did he get the ball stolen by KCP. Jimmy Butler, he didn't have it today, and that's just too unfortunate for the Miami Heat. They were not going to win this game if Jimmy Butler was going to be mediocre. He was 5 of 18 from the field, but the Miami Heat fought. They competed. They made this a game. It wasn't going to be easy for the Nuggets to win at all. They could have given up when they were down 3-1, be in the fetal position and just be like, oh, let the season end. Like being an 8 seed, they didn't have much of a chance against Denver, but give credit to the players that played hard tonight. Give credit to Bam Adebayo, who was absolutely sensational, holding his own. He had 20 points and 12 rebounds. Give credit to Jimmy Butler in the fourth quarter when he came alive. He still had 21 points, 5 of 18. That's not going to cut it. Give credit to Kevin Love for just getting ready to play in the finals after being waived by Cleveland. Give credit to Matt Strus, who had a terrible finals all around. But he stepped up today. He had 12 points. He had that nice chase down block in the fourth quarter. Matt Strus is going to get a nice contract. And all those guys are feeling upset. But Matt Strus, guys like him for bouncing back, played 31 minutes in the finals game. After being undrafted, after being waived by the Celtics, Matt Strus should absolutely be proud of himself. Gabe Vincent didn't have it tonight. Minus 14, 6 points, but he's going to have a pretty decent contract. Give credit to Caleb Martin. He had 10 points in battle. Duncan Robinson, he proved a lot of people wrong. He's not just a shooter. He did a lot more things in these finals, so give Duncan Robinson a lot of credit. He could have just relaxed and bailed out and pulled a Chandler Parsons after the $90 million deal, but Duncan Robinson improved on his game, and he showed up to play. So give credit to the Miami Heat. Give credit to Udonis Haslem for turning 43 years old and finishing his NBA career today. So don't forget about UD, his final game at age 43. I watched Udonis Haslem play since he was pretty much a rookie. When Michael Biolante, the PA announcer for Miami, announces Udonis Haslem. This brings me back to middle school days. So that's how long I've been watching Udonis Haslem. He was a great mentor for this team, and I'm sure he's probably going to be an assistant for Eric Spoelstra. So this is not the last time you're going to ever see Udonis Haslem in person, because I guarantee he's going to be part of the Heat organization, whether it's behind the scenes or in the coaching staff. Udonis Haslem will be back, just not in uniform. We don't need to see him in uniform anymore, but UD absolutely deserves his flowers for an amazing NBA career. I shitted on him for many years, thought he should have retired 4 or 5 years ago, but the way how this Miami Heat team elevated and how they competed to the very end, they gave themselves a chance. This was a really close game, especially to a Denver Nuggets team. Think about this. They almost take 2 games from Denver, who was undefeated in the Western Conference at home. And for Miami to even make this a close game, just give them a lot of credit. They scrapped tonight, but the Heat player that deserves most credit, Kyle freaking Lowry, 37 years old, flopping his body around, getting these nice calls, hitting some timely threes. The Miami Heat would have gotten destroyed without Kyle Lowry tonight. He would have really gotten destroyed, but Kyle Lowry was battling. He tried to get Jokic to draw his third foul. He really did. He tried to have a concussion in the second quarter when Kyle Lowry went down for like a minute. He tried really hard for Jokic to get his third foul, but give credit to Kyle Lowry. That man's going to be a Hall of Famer. Most of the time, I hate watching him play because he's a master at the flop. And I know Kyle Lowry, his antics. If you watch an NBA game with me, if you're one of my close friends, I know what Kyle Lowry's gonna try to do before he does it, because he does it all the time. He's gonna throw his body around. He's gonna fall down when he doesn't have an angle. He's the flop genius. So if there's a flop Hall of Fame, Kyle Lowry would be first ballot. Kyle Lowry will he's probably top 10 players all time when it comes to flopping, because he's a genius at it. He made a living out of it, but that doesn't take away the credit that he performed well. 34 minutes for the 37-year-old. Kyle Lowry had 9 freaking rebounds today. 9 rebounds for Kyle Lowry. And Miami competed. The rebounding discrepancy, obviously, Denver's much bigger team, 57-44 on the boards for the Nuggets. But Kyle Lowry, he had 9 fucking rebounds as a 6-footer. And he had 4 assists, 2 steals. He was a +5 today, 34 minutes. Kyle Lowry, he might have played his last great basketball game. I mean, this game right here from Kyle Lowry probably took another like 8 months off his career. The way he was just hustling, leaving it out on the line. I wouldn't even be shocked if Kyle Lowry decides to call it quits after having a sensational career. I believe he's the last man standing in his draft class. He's the best in this draft class, to be honest, him and LaMarcus Aldridge. So for Kyle Lowry in that 06 draft class to really be bowling out and competing like this in the 2023 NBA Finals, being one of the best role players in these finals too, when Gabe Vincent didn't have it, man. Kyle Lowry, whether you love him or hate him, he deserves his flowers. I've been watching him since the late 2000s, since he was in Houston, to be honest. And Kyle Lowry's always a scrappy guy. He's going to get his jersey retired by the Raptors. And he really got it together for Heat culture, playing big minutes in the NBA Finals. So give credit to the Miami Heat. They have nothing to be ashamed of. Jimmy Butler could have, would have, should have played better, but Jimmy Butler is just not that guy. He brought some incredible memories. He's going to get his jersey number retired by Miami, but Jimmy Butler, he's not a top 5 player. I mean, in the regular season, he's very pedestrian-like, but in the playoff, he tunes it up. He needed to have a Milwaukee-esque playoff series to have a chance against the Nuggets, but unfortunately, that did not happen. He just struggled most of these playoffs. You could argue that Bam Adebayo was the best Heat for most of these finals, and Jimmy Butler, he needed one more magic in him, like that Bucks series, like some of the earlier games in the Boston series, but he just didn't have it. But he played hard. He's going to be easily a Hall of Famer. He's going to be highly remembered, Jimmy Butler. So nothing to be ashamed about if you're Miami, from being in the play-in and almost losing to the Chicago Bulls and Matt Strus helping them go all the way. This Miami Heat team hella accomplished. They achieved a lot. But tonight, unfortunately, not their night. It's the Denver Nuggets' night. So let's go right in to talk about the game. I'll have a lot more to talk about today. So if you guys are ready for a long night, no better place than joining me here. Get your popcorn ready. Get your milk, your Oreos, maybe your beer. Just have some nice beer if you want. If you're over 21, that is. If you're under that, just drink some water or soda. But this game has been super physical. This reminds me of a Game 7 today. So if I didn't know that it was Game 5, I would have predicted like, oh, is this a Game 7? Because you see the intensity. Both teams were really trying to win. They both wanted equally as bad. They wanted it. Miami wanted it. And they did not quit. They absolutely did not quit. Every time it looked like Denver was going to maybe pull away, Jimmy Butler, he saved it. He saved his basketball for literally the last like 4 minutes of the game. He couldn't buy a bucket. I believe he was like 2 of 10 from the field. He had 8 points for a long time, but for Jimmy Buckets to come alive and score like 13 points in the fourth quarter, he did his thing. He gave Miami a puncher's chance. He really did. This was a physical game, and you're talking about the Denver Nuggets, where many people questioned them. Did they have the toughness? Did they have the defense? Everyone likes to make fun of their defense, but defense won championships, and they continue to win championships, and the Denver Nuggets defense tonight won them a championship. Nikola Jokic is a pretty solid defender. Yes, he is. The way how Bam was missing shots, Bam missed more than half his shots because Nikola Jokic, with his length at 7 feet tall, he was contesting Bam shots at the rim, and Jokic forced Bam into a couple misses. Jokic was also a beast on the glass. He was an absolute beast. Jokic, his rebounding, I think he's the best rebounder in the NBA. There's no doubt about it. For a guy that plays over 33 minutes a game, there's no question. He had 28 and 16 today, 16 rebounds for the Joker. And you know every time Miami was going to shoot the ball, they were going to be one and done. And if you can't box out, you're not going to win championships. And you know what happened today? The Denver Nuggets, and they call Jokic being the best rebounder in the current NBA or one of the top three. He boxed out, he defended the paint, and he got those boards. And Michael Porter boxed out too. What a total team effort by the Denver Nuggets. If there was an NBA game that you gotta watch this season, look no further. Like if you were in the summertime, you have no plans and you miss some basketball, just rewatch Game 5 tonight of this game, man. Because it's so intense. It reminds me of all the Game 7 growing up, man. Like when it was low scoring, at some point before Jimmy Butler was gonna hit those shots, I thought the Nuggets were probably gonna win like 88 to like 81, something super low scoring like the early 2000s. But this was an intense game. This was super intense. And basketball at the highest level in the final stages, it's not about the scoring and the high tempo and just jacking up threes and the exhibition game. It's not about what the All-Star game is about because the current All-Star game is a joke. But today's NBA, this was the definition of a team that's a true NBA champion, a true champion that competes every single possession. You're super alert. You're super laser focused. You're not going to give any opponents easy baskets because in basketball, you don't want your opponents scoring on you. You don't want any open shots allowed. If you're going to have those guys make tough shots, hit those fadeaway threes, or hit those shots like when contested, put a hand up and not foul. And today, both teams absolutely played championship basketball. And I feel for the Miami Heat too because they played their heart out. They were undersized. They were undermatched. They had good strategy today to make Aaron Gordon into foul trouble. Gordon wasn't much of a factor in the first like 2.5 quarters, but Aaron Gordon, AG, man, wow. Sensational. What a great pickup from Aaron Gordon. Literally, Aaron Gordon's defense, same exact thing that reminds me of Andrew Wiggins when he locked up Jason Tatum last finals. So for all the people that called Aaron Gordon a bust, he didn't have it with Orlando. He's just not a number one guy. But as the number 3 option, as a 4 option, for him to play defense, he's absolutely great. Aaron Gordon, much respect to AG. From just being known as just an athlete and a dunker, he's a fantastic two-way, all-around player. Like, he's just tremendous for the Denver Nuggets. What a blessing in disguise having that trade. Aaron Gordon being able to fit with Jokic as a pretty decent power forward at 6'8", having the duty to guard Jimmy Butler and to do an excellent job on Jimmy and to make Jimmy Butler work on defense and to guard guys like LeBron James and Anthony Davis and Kevin Durant and Karl Anthony Towns and to win. Aaron Gordon deserves a absolute vacation. He deserves to go to any restaurant he wants in the Denver area for the rest of his life and not pay a penny for eating because Aaron Gordon, just sensational stuff from AG. To be willing to adapt and play an option like this and just get ready for his time, man. Get ready for his time. Playing defense, KCP playing defense, KCP, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. He's one of the only few lottery picks remaining alongside Giannis. That's still pretty active in the 2013 draft. So when you look at the Anthony Bennett's of the world, Victor Oladipo, his career is going downhill with injuries. Otto Porter's almost out the league. But you look at those guys like Michael Carter-Williams, CJ McCollum's a better one too, but KCP is one of the guys that has a true impact in that pretty shitty 2013 NBA draft class. And for KCP to have 2 NBA champions, 2 NBA championships, playing pivotal roles and stepping up when needed to, he was excellent for the Lakers in the bubble. The Lakers shouldn't have gotten rid of him for Westbrook, to be honest, because KCP, he's a championship type player, a good solid shooting guard on a team. So KCP, tremendous 2-time NBA champion, baby. The first Nugget here to be a 2-time NBA champion. Is KCP gonna be the Danny Green? KCP gonna get another ring next year? Because he's probably gonna play for contenders for the rest of his career until he's wash, until what he's Danny Green like right now. So with that, the Denver Nuggets won beautiful defensive basketball. We all know how good they were on offense. The Jokic Murray pick and roll will probably go down as the best ever over Stockton and Malone, just because the fact that Stockton and Malone, they can't really shoot like that. And John Stockton's not really as good of a scorer as Jamal Murray. But Jamal Murray, his facilitating, for him to average 10 assists in the finals, that's just sensational. Jamal Murray, when he didn't have his shot, he's so good at setting his teammates. Jamal Murray playing the point guard role for the Denver Nuggets. This was some of the most brilliant thing the Denver Nugget franchise did. Insert Jamal Murray at point guard because he was pretty much a shooting guard coming into the league from his Kentucky days. So Jamal Murray, if he continues to play this good, he might be in that Devin Booker tier because I do think that Jamal Murray's a better fit for Denver, and I'd rather have him over Donovan Mitchell. Because Jamal Murray's a great shooter, and for him to overcome that serious injury for his ACL and to bounce back and become a champion as a second option like this, the Canadian sensation from Canada's a winner, man. Canada's a winner from Andrew Wiggins last year, and now Jamal Murray this season, just winning that NBA championship. Man, that must feel good for Jamal Murray. Must feel absolutely good. John Calipari having a blast right now, seeing Jamal Murray win a title and to get drafted to the Denver Nuggets back in 2016 like this. You could make an argument Jamal Murray should have been probably the first pick of that 2016 class because his career is more accomplished right now than Ben Simmons, more accomplished than Brandon Ingram. Jaylen Brown, the way he's playing, I don't think he'll win a ring if he continues to dribble like crap. Kudos to Jamal Murray, man. Wow. How about the game today? The game 94 to 89. 94 to 89. Did you think you would see a game in the modern NBA this low scoring? It's not regular season stuff. This is NBA final stuff. Game 5 when everything's on the line for the Denver Nuggets and they found a way to get it done. The Denver Nuggets, they could have gotten tired. They could have been like, oh, we got 2 more chances after this. But after seeing Golden State blow a 3-1 lead, the Nuggets didn't want any part of that. And they took care of business today. And that's because of the leadership of Nikola Jokic. He was so amped up from the bench. He knew that his team didn't want to lose, and he did not want to lose. And he wanted to finish it today with everybody on the stands, from his family members, everybody watching, everybody in the arena just standing up, knowing they have a golden opportunity to clinch everything, just to clinch it. And for Jokic in the fourth quarter, he did his thing. He imposed his will in that third quarter. Even though he missed some shots, it's his great teammates setting up the activity of Bruce Brown. What about Bruce Brown? Bruce Brown was a free safety out there. He's like the basketball version of flow, be like water. The famous Bruce Lee quote when he says, be water, my friend. When water becomes the cup, it becomes the cup. When you put water into a spoon, it becomes the spoon. Water into a teapot, it becomes the teapot. When you just hustle and grab the rebound and put it to the hoop, you put the ball in the hoop. When you just hustle in the paint, you're going to get the loose ball. And when you get the loose ball, you lay it up, you score 2 points, and you help your team win. And that's exactly what Bruce Brown did. 2 years, $13 million. What a huge bargain today. What a huge bargain for Bruce Brown. Whoa. He's going to get paid a lot of money. A lot of money for the Brooklyn Nets to not resign him. What idiots, man. For the Denver Nuggets to get him. Kudos to the GM in the front office of the Denver Nuggets for being able to get someone like Bruce Brown and KCP. Both of them just absolutely sensational in the fourth quarter. The fourth quarter game, I was watching the game by myself and I was just clapping as a fan. I was absolutely just clapping. Super happy, super excited just to see what the NBA is like. Winning championships, it should not be easy. Nothing should be easy. I don't expect a team to score 130 points and blow somebody out. This is what the highest level of basketball does. With 2 great coaches in Mike Malone and Eric Spoelstra, both geniuses and going at it. The fourth quarter, man, it was a fourth quarter. It was the best fourth quarter I've seen pretty much like almost all the playoffs. like these Denver Nuggets Laker fourth quarter games, it reminds me of one of those Denver Nuggets beating the Lakers because every game was close, but Denver was just a better team in the fourth. I remember all of those. So for the Nuggets to be able to pull it off and win by 5 points, man, this is well deserved. Well deserves. DeAndre Jordan Hall of Fame case, I wouldn't go that far for DeAndre, but he did win a championship. Very happy for DeAndre Jordan for winning a ring. This is what happens. So, any NBA players watching this video right now, this is the lesson that you got to learn. If you're a good teammate and you play hard and you have good reputation around the league and you take a chance and participate for Team USA in the Olympic and you make boys with everybody, you make boys with Kevin Durant, you make boys for Kyrie Irving, your boys with probably LeBron James probably loves you, your boys with Russell Westbrook and Anthony Davis, because DeAndre Jordan, let's be honest, he's been washed for the last 4 years as an NBA player. He probably shouldn't be an NBA level player for the last 3 years, but DeAndre Jordan, he's a great guy. Everybody loves him. Like some people might think that DeAndre Jordan's still the Clipper old of DeAndre Jordan, but because he's such a nice guy and how people love him as a teammate, they're gonna take a chance on him. So DeAndre Jordan, by just being a friendly NBA player and just be cool with everybody around the league, for a team like the Denver Nuggets to take a chance on him, because DeAndre Jordan, I bet all y'all thought DeAndre Jordan's career was over when he was with the Lakers and he drew the pass into like the 15th row. It's like he's Tom Brady out there. Like, what the hell are you doing? Like, why is DeAndre Jordan like that? Was the epitome of the Lakers' brutal season last year when DeAndre Jordan just drew the ball to like the second section, the 200 section. So, and then he got waived the next day. For DeAndre Jordan to be able to bounce back and for the Nuggets to take a chance on him, because I was making fun of DeAndre Jordan. I really was for the longest of times. And you know what? It's no accident now. Now that I come to look at it, DeAndre Jordan was one of the first free agent pickups of this past season. The Denver Nuggets, like if you remember, when the free agency was officially lined up, nobody signed Carmelo Anthony, nobody signed Blake Griffin for the longest time. And one of the first notifications from Shams and Woj, DeAndre Jordan signs for the Nuggets. Like, what the fuck? DeAndre Jordan? Like, he's still going to be in the NBA? You see how bad he was for the Lakers? You see how bad he was for the Nets? And he was the first, one of the first, literally, he might be one of the first 10 players signed for a free agency last July. And for DJ to get signed so early, I'm like, what the hell are the Nuggets doing? They just had DeMarcus Cousins, who's a better player. But DJ's personality, being a great teammate off the court, always laughing and smiling, this is what gets you to NBA success. If you want to ride the bench, you already had a double-digit career year. You played 10 plus seasons in the NBA. You've done all you can. You might have made one all-star team. Maybe you had a couple all-defensive teams and whatnot. And if you're not as good, you got to be a good teammate if you want to stick around the league. You got to be cool with guys like Jokic. Jokic obviously loves DeAndre Jordan and what he brings to the Denver Nuggets. So be like DeAndre Jordan. Be a good teammate. If you want to participate for Team USA, don't turn that down, because DeAndre Jordan, I guarantee he got close with KD and all those guys. He probably should have won a title with the Nets, to be honest, but obviously they were hurt in 21. But for DeAndre Jordan to get 4 years, 40 million, like in 2019 or 2020, 2021, DeAndre Jordan, for him to be starting over Jared Allen, if you guys remember that, and I was so furious about it. But this is what happens if you're a nice teammate and you're just a cool dude. You gotta be cool with all the best players. That's gonna get you far in this league. So the guys that you know they're not gonna be around when they're washed. If you're gonna turn down opportunities, if you don't want to participate for a national team, if you want to be a loser, like guys like Ben Simmons, who says no to Team Australia, you know what? His connection, that's gonna draw off a lot of teams away. How like all these NBA players, you can't burn bridges with your former teams. You just can't do that. If you're Ben Simmons, Philly no longer wants you anymore after what you did to them. Brooklyn, I'm sure, don't even want guys like Ben Simmons. So don't be someone like him. You don't want to be an arrogant guy. There's a reason why DeAndre Jordan, he might be sticking around the NBA for 2 more years. For 2 more years. So If DeAndre Jordan, he could play probably until Udonis Haslam's age, to be quite honest. DeAndre Jordan, congratulations to DJ winning a ring. He can party, he can have fun, he can call himself an NBA champion. He can say that he was off the bench giving advice and just being a good teammate to one of the best players of all time in Jokic and DeAndre, man. He's just such a great teammate, such a nice guy, great all around, positive energy. You want guys with positive energy. He's probably one of those friends that everybody just loves. Like you're gonna have one of those friends that you know from your childhood and friend group. Like probably not the most popular kid and on the block, but the one who brings the nicest energy, the one who always has a smile on his face, the one that's gonna hook you up with the nicest beer, with the nicest drinks and alcohol, the one that's gonna introduce you to probably the best looking girls and whatnot, and just be low key about it. And that's what seems like DeAndre Jordan really is. So, DJ, God bless. You're an NBA champion. DeAndre Jordan, how about Jeff Green? Incredible. Uncle Jeff, from having heart surgery with the Sonics days to being in the same draft class as Kevin Durant, and now to officially becoming an NBA champion as one of the last man standing. Jeff Green, sensational, being on minimum contract since like what 2015 or so. Because Jeff Green's bounced around from many different teams, and I always found it a travesty that his agent, whoever he was giving him 1 year vet minimums because Jeff Green contributed a lot. He was a monster in Brooklyn in 2021 in that game 5 when he had like 27 points and he was draining bombs. When he was in the 2018 finals, he was actually one of the best players in that 2018 Caps roster. Because if it wasn't for Jeff Green in game 7 against Boston, I'm not sure if LeBron would have pulled that game up by himself. Because guys like Jeff Green, he just stayed positive, stayed ready. He's not that good of an NBA player anymore, but he's absolutely deserving of a ring because of his positive attitude and just what he brings. No matter where he goes, Uncle Jeff, you're going to see a couple nice plays. You might forget that he's on the team, but Jeff Green, you're going to see him get a couple dunks. He's one of the best in-game dunkers you see from any role player. So he's the definition of one of the best, one of the most well-known role players, well-respected. Kudos to Jeff Green, Uncle Jeff. He's super old, but he can be considered an NBA champion for the rest of his life. Jeff Green was just sensational. What a good teammate. And if you guys see Jeff Green talking with Aaron Gordon, trying to give him advice, Jeff Green's a big dude, man. He's a big dude. He's the same size as Gordon. I think he's even taller. He's almost Jokic's height, and he's up there with MPJ. So Jeff Green, he's a pretty big athlete. And for Jeff Green to be able to be solid like this and give us all these years of nice dunks and just positive energy, positive vibes from Jeff Green. What a time for the Denver Nuggets. So they brought in DeAndre Jordan and Jeff Green, the best that are going to be outspoken, the guys that might not play too much, but they're going to keep everything accountable, keep all the young guys accountable. And you see Jeff Green, or was it Jeff Green or DeAndre, when he was whispering to Jamal Murray? I believe it was DJ, just at the start of the fourth quarter, you got 12 minutes to make us champions. And Jamal's like, all right, bet, I got you. And that's what exactly happened. So you love that type of supporting cast. You love that inspiration from guys like DeAndre Jordan. He just knows how to be mature and hold everyone responsible. So if you're a team like the Memphis Grizzlies with a bunch of immature 22-year-old clowns, do yourself a favor and sign someone like DeAndre Jordan to teach you a lesson, because you can learn from a guy like DeAndre Jordan who's been in many NBA playoff games, who's been there, done that. He doesn't have the physical ability anymore. I see your comments about when they leave the Lakers, Clippers, and Nets. That's cool. That's great. That's great. Thomas Bryant was just chilling, to be honest. Thomas Bryant, an NBA champion. So how about Thomas Bryant? From being a meme all season to being laughed at to being hated by Laker fans and getting shit on constantly. You don't need to stop. You don't need to spam, dude. It's not necessary. Just chill out. Let everyone talk. Thomas Bryant, for calling for the ball down low when LeBron was passing Kareem on the all-time scoring list. Thomas Bryant got the last laugh all this season. So all these Laker fans and all these Laker supporters that say the Nuggets had no chance, not only has the Nuggets and Thomas Bryant swept the Lakers, but Thomas Bryant is an NBA champion. That's the bigger picture. That's going to be his favorite memory this season, not just being LeBron James's teammate when being in that picture when he passed Kareem. Thomas Bryant is an NBA champion. This Denver Nuggets team, what is there not to love about them? This team, Mike Malone, from being the head coach for 8 years, Mike Malone might be the next Eric Spoelstra. He might be the face of the Denver Nuggets head coach for many years to come. And I do believe that he's going to only get better because if you can coach a guy like Nikola Jokic, who's so brilliant in basketball, if you're a head coach, Nikola Jokic is every head coach's dream, to be honest. To be honest, Jokic, like if he was on the Celtics, he'd probably make Joe Mazzulla a champion. If I was coaching Jokic, he'd probably make me a champion, to be honest, because Jokic is so genius. He's just a sensational basketball player, and he's the type of guy that's probably going to have Malone motivated. Like, as long as Jokic remains with the Nuggets for the next 10 years or so, however long he plays, Mike Malone might be his only coach, I believe. So Malone and Jokic, he could become the next Pop and Duncan. How amazing would that be for the Denver Nuggets? Because we could be seeing a potential NBA dynasty in the making for Denver, because the team just plays so incredible basketball. It was just such a joy to watch all season long, all playoff long for the Nuggets. They never gotten blown out once this season. So every Denver Nuggets loss in the playoffs, every loss was close. It was super close. And the only games that they lost, the other team played out of their mind. When Anthony Edwards, I believe, in game 4 for Minnesota, Denver almost won that game, and that game went to overtime. I think they ended up losing by more than what's expected, but that was their only loss in the first round. And they lost 2 games to Phoenix because Devin Booker went bananas, and Kevin Durant also did KD things too. But those were super close games. Those were unique masterpieces from Book and KD. And then they swept the Lakers. And to finish the NBA playoffs and this season, 10-1 in their last 11 games to win an NBA championship. That's an explanation point for everybody that doubted the Denver Nuggets, that absolutely doubted them, that didn't think they had a chance, that actually forgot how great Jamal Murray was in the bubble. When Jamal Murray tore his ACL 2 years ago, we were probably robbed of a Jokic vs. Giannis finals 2 years ago. So there was no Murray in 2021. And guess what happened? Jokic still led them to the second round. And guess what happened? Jokic single-handedly destroyed the Dame Lillard, CJ McCollum era when that Portland Trailblazers team was healthy enough. When the Nuggets were short-handed, Jokic single-handedly beat Dame and CJ in 21. When Jokic single-handedly dragged his team with guys like Will Barton, Monte Morris, Frank Campazzo, Austin Rivers against the Golden State Warriors, the last season's NBA champions, and for Denver to compete and take one game and to have a couple close games down the stretch because of Jokic and playing with guys that's barely in the league anymore, that's barely heard from. Like, y'all really counted out the Denver Nuggets? I'm not reading no script. I'm speaking directly at you, so I see the comments. I got no script written down, so that was an incredible accomplishment from Jokic 2 years ago. Bouncing back, and now they're NBA champions. There's a reason why Nikola Jokic, you could arguably say that he's been the best player for the last 2-3 years-ish. I would still give it to Giannis back in 21, but 22, Giannis, Jokic, debatable. And still, Jokic, Giannis, they're still the 2 best players in the game. I don't think anything has changed. Jokic has taken the crown, definitely solidified his spot, but this is the golden era for Jokic and Giannis and the international basketball players going at it, because you know that for the next 3-4 years in the NBA, what's going to be the biggest final storyline? It's not about, oh, LeBron, who's going to be on the Lakers? He can call Chris Paul. He can call Bradley Beal. Call whoever you want. The Lakers are old. AD, he's fragile. He's not as good as Jokic. Jokic definitely deserves a spot in the top 75. Kick out Anthony Davis and put in Jokic. You could even kick out Dame Lillard and put in Jokic. Because Nikola Jokic, man, Giannis just made the top 75 because he won the 21 title and he absolutely deserves it. But Jokic was probably one of the guys that was in the last cut, to be honest. So for the NBA, if there was an honorary, like, they're not going to have a top 100 for another 24 years. So the 100-year NBA anniversary from 2046, 47, we got to be old as hell. We got to be having kids. Some of y'all be maybe having grandkids at that time, possibly. So for Nikola Jokic should be one of the first guys on this list because for the NBA, when they did a top 50 in 97, I was still like way too young at the time. One of my NBA friends, like that's been watching ball since the 90s, was telling me that like the guys that did not make the top 50 that missed the cut, and the guys that would have made like the top 50 like easily, like if this was the early 2000s when guys like guys, it was like Tim Duncan, he was like the first person, and Kobe was probably number 2 on that list. Like if this was the year 2005 or '06, the guys that should have been top 50 but didn't make it because they entered the league like kind of right after that time ish, it was Tim Duncan and then it was Kobe. So for guys that didn't make the top 75 because they didn't play enough, you just have to give them time to dominate. Jokic is going to be one of the first guys on this list. There's no doubt about that. So Nikola Jokic is kind of like the Tim Duncan route in the 2000s. He's absolutely top 75. Without question, Jokic is top 25. We can all get into the debates and whatnot and who accomplished more. And why not talk about that right now? Nikola Jokic, this man's been special. He's better than Dirk Nowitzki all time, in my opinion. Because you know why? Dirk Nowitzki doesn't have 2 MVPs. Dirk Nowitzki, he was the best player in that 2011 run. But can you convincingly say any year that Dirk Nowitzki was the best player in the NBA? He was never the clear-cut best player. It's always been either Kobe in the 2000s or LeBron. So Dirk Nowitzki, you could argue that he might have been a top 3 player because Dirk, I do believe that he was in his peak from the 2005 2007 range when he finished third place, and number 1 for MVP. I believe so. Dirk was he was sensational those times. He was super efficient. He was all that Dallas team had pretty much with a bunch of good role players and Jason Terry and Josh Howard. So Dirk Nowitzki, he was probably as high as number 3 in the best player conversation because he was not better than Kobe in '06. I think LeBron was probably better than him in '06, even though it's close. I still had Tim Duncan was better than him in '06 as well because Duncan and Dirk went at it in that playoff. So and then there was all Dwayne Wade was debatable whether you thought he was better than Dirk in '06. So Nowitzki was always maybe in the 3 to 5 range. He was never the clear-cut best player. Even in '07, even though he won MVP that year, we all knew the best player was pretty much Kobe when he had a pretty bad supporting cast. And guys like LeBron was also up there as well. And Duncan was still there in '07. It was always really close. Like Duncan was better than Dirk in the early 2000s, but in the later 2000s, you could make the argument for Nowitzki, and Nowitzki after 2009 was clearly better than Duncan, in my opinion, just going forward. So Dirk Nowitzki, fantastic champion, well-deserved, probably still one of the 2 toughest championships to ever come through to eliminate all-time great super teams like that, to eliminate Kobe and D Wade, Kevin Durant, LeBron, and Westbrook, all those guys, and winning that improbable ring. His ring deserves a lot. Like Dirk Nowitzki's championship is well earned, but Jokic's championship is absolutely well earned. To be honest, Nikola Jokic, he don't need to team up with no super team like Doncic. I don't want to hear anyone say, "Oh, super team, super team." Giannis didn't have to win with a super team. Jokic didn't have to win with a super team. Why need another super team? Just build through a good franchise if you have a good franchise player. And that's how you build consistent success. Like, it's much more impressive, in my opinion, for one superstar to get along with one franchise and believe in the organization and just have a bunch of good players and just win it the hard way. Don't try to join team from team. Don't try to be like a Kevin Durant. Oh, like, oh, Durant, oh, Golden State. Oh, I'm not the main guy. Oh, I'm not happy there. Oh, I'm in Brooklyn. Oh, there's drama. Oh, there's too much excuses. Oh, Phoenix. Oh, like, nah, don't. I don't want to hear any of that shit. I like guys that's able to build and trust their team and see what they can do and be patient. And Nikola Jokic did it the hard way. And for all you people that say, like, oh, asterisk, there's no asterisk in this year's champion. The Denver Nuggets are one of the most convincing champions that we've seen in any title run. They're so convincing. Why? Because, oh, they didn't play Giannis. Giannis lost to Miami. Oh, that's too bad. Giannis was healthy enough to play the last couple of games, and he still lost in the games that he's played. So that's not really an excuse. Oh, Boston. Oh, they didn't play Boston. You know what would have happened? Jokic would have annihilated Boston because they played super selfish. And Boston Celtics, the way they played against Miami, they were not championship worthy. And don't tell me about the Sixers and Embiid and Harden too, because they both shit the bed, to be honest. And I love Embiid, but he played like shit in Game 7, and he was not going to beat the Denver Nuggets. The Sixers don't even have that chemistry. They don't have guys that they can rely on in the fourth quarter come winning time. And that's what happened with Jokic and Murray time and time again in the fourth quarter, pick and roll execution, championship basketball. So take notes if you're a young NBA player like a Luka Doncic. If your organization doesn't get you help in the next year or two, it's reasonable for you to think about leaving. But you want to build something from the team that trusted you right from the beginning. Because Nikola Jokic, whatever he does for the rest of his career, he's going to have a status outside the arena of the Denver Nuggets. His status is going to be next to Shannon Sharp when he played for the Broncos. Oh, how about that? And I don't believe that the Nuggets have a statue of any recent former players, to my knowledge, that's up outside the arena. Jokic is probably going to be the first one in my knowledge, but I'm not like a Denver Nuggets like historian fan. Like, I know a lot about the Denver Nuggets, but I didn't grow up in Denver, so I don't know some of those details. But absolutely, Jokic, he's gonna get his status reviewed. Him and Jamal Murray, like if they play together, they're gonna be a better pick and roll duo than Stockton and Malone, and they're probably gonna be more remembered too. Because Jokic, in my opinion, he's gonna go down as a better player than Malone. And Jamal Murray, if he stays healthy, he's not gonna be as durable as Stockton because he's missed a lot of time. But as a scorer in the postseason, Jamal Murray deserves a lot of respect. He might be just as remembered as a guy like Manu Ginobili, someone that's not that good in the regular season. He doesn't care if he gets like 15 points in a regular game in January, but come playoff time, you bet Jamal Murray's going to have a lot of memories. And he did this season when he destroyed Anthony Davis and LeBron, when he destroyed Miami in a couple of these games. And it's kind of like how Manu Ginobili also was this destroyed guys when he destroyed the Suns and Steve Nash, and he destroyed the Pistons in '05. So kind of like Jamal Murray, you could say he's like a Parker or Ginobili / role player to Jokic Duncan, because Jokic is really damn just this special. He's an all-time great. There's no doubt about it. You could rank him wherever he wants, but I do think he's a better talent than Dirk Nowitzki. There's no doubt about it. Offensively, I do think he's just as good as Dirk and a better passer. As a scorer, Dirk's a better jump shooter. He has a better a better fadeaway. But Jokic can do everything Dirk can do. But Jokic can do everything Dirk can do to the way that's not as good as Nowitzki, not as pretty as Nowitzki, but Nowitzki cannot do everything Jokic can do. He can't pass like Jokic. Jokic is a way better rebounder, and on defense, they're both not like the best, but Jokic is, I would say he's a better rim protector than Nowitzki. So if you want a Jokic-Nowitzki debate, and I'm not here to talk down on Dirk. Dirk is sensational, but if you're going to ask me who I think is the best European between Nowitzki and Jokic, the answer's Nikola Jokic, in my opinion. So, Jokic, Giannis, the face of the league. The face of the league. I don't see which team stopping them or which NBA superstar stopping them. Anthony Davis, he ain't at Jokic level. And for all you people that says, oh, AD, because I was wrong about Anthony Davis to the point that I thought AD was really going to be the best player like 5 years ago. 5 years ago, I had Anthony Davis and Giannis and even Ben Simmons as the three guys who I believe would be the best. But man, I was totally wrong. I was super wrong. 95% of you were wrong. I was wrong for not having Jokic in there, but Nikola Jokic is way better than Anthony Davis. It's really not even close. It's not close. Anthony Davis might be like a top 40 player or top 50, whatever you want to say, but Jokic is like 20 spots ahead of him. There's no doubt about that. Offensively, the way how he carries the team, the way he baby AD. AD's a phenomenal defender, but he can't carry a team like Jokic. He doesn't pass like Jokic, and he's way too inconsistent. Like Anthony Davis, some games he just looks like a below average player. But Jokic, even in Jokic's worst games, he has like a 20 point, 12 rebound, 8 assist game, and that's a bad game for Jokic. And for Jokic to have those bad games still be better than like 99.9% of the league, because Jokic's bad games, he's still a top 10 player, even if he has his bad games. That's how special Nikola Jokic is. Just a humble human being, just a humble guy. If there was an NBA player that you would love to meet, like right now, in their primes, to have dinner with, for me, it's probably Jokic or Giannis, maybe even Steph Curry too. Their attitude to lead their team and not make any excuses, to put in the work, to not bail on their team, and to never draw a temper tantrum. And that's what's so special about Jokic. He cares about his teammates. He gets more happy. He lets up. His eyes lit up when you hear about like him, when people mention guys like Christian Brown, Jeff Green, even DeAndre Jordan or Jamal Murray or MPJ. Jokic always compliments his teammate, and there's no player that you would want in the NBA to build your team around than Nikola Jokic, who cares so much about his teammates. Because when anyone asks about Jokic's stats, he doesn't give a fuck about his stats. He doesn't care if he has a 40-point triple-double or have a 30-20-10 game. It's just a day of work to him, Nikola Jokic. He's the best at doing his job out there, but he just cares about the W's and the win. And for him to be so humble and to be so carefree, that's what makes him truly special. And for people to say that Nikola Jokic, he's a stat padder, fuck out of here with that nonsense. Don't ever call Nikola Jokic a stat padder or someone who just puts up numbers. He's an NBA champion and he wins. He wins. He don't care about his stats. Jokic, sometimes he takes 5 shots a game, but he wins. He's super happy. Nikola Jokic could have tried to play some hero ball. He had all the green light to probably jack up shots, but he was super patient. He waited to see his teammates if they were getting aggressive, but Jokic, he still had 28 points and 16 rebounds, 12 of 16 from the field in the flow of the game. So Nikola Jokic, he didn't force anything up. He didn't have like the crazy games today, but he still was the best player on the court. He's just so damn good. And he's so selfless, like Tim Duncan. Like Jokic and Tim Duncan and Giannis, I would say. Giannis probably cares about his stats more than Jokic, in my opinion, because Giannis loves to dominate. He loves to get the slam dunks, but Giannis and Jokic, they're all about winning. All these American players, man, all these Americans, and I don't want to start the crazy debates between these young American NBA players who are more entitled, let's be honest, that they're millionaires at a young age, they're more selfish. And look at these international guys. Look at Jokic, how humble. Look at Giannis, how humble. Jamal Murray, the Canadian, pretty humble. And then you have fucking guys like Zion Williamson, who gets hookers pregnant, and he's 21 years old or something, and he can't stay on the court. And it was a hooker that convinced him to get in shape. What the hell are we doing, American NBA so-called superstars? That's a terrible look for the NBA. And you know what? Jokic doesn't care about any of that stuff. He has a daughter. He has a nice family. He's a family guy. He loves his horses. Giannis, he has a family. He has kids. He loves his wife. He loves his brothers. He has fun. And that's what it's all about. Those guys are good role models. People might not talk about them. They might not have the flashy years of games, but they are somebody to really exemplify as someone who's just great role model on and off the court. LeBron James, say what you want about him, but he's a great family man too. We never hear any bad stuff about LeBron. And there's a reason why LeBron, because of his game and his personality, he's been so famous, and we all talk about him all the time, like way too much LeBron talks. I'm sure everyone is sick of it, but LeBron James he was a great example in that aspect for somebody to be the face of the league. He might say a lot of dumb stuff politically because LeBron James, a lot of stuff outside of basketball, he's just not that smart in. Every time he tweets about politics, might sound like an idiot, but LeBron James, deep down, you know that he's a good person and he does some good and he wants his family to be in a good situation and be happy. He wants to own stuff. He wants to be multi-billionaire if he wants, and that's a good guy and a good attitude to have to be the face of the league for many years. And Zion Williamson, John Moran, get your fucking shit together, man. Get your shit together. Fucking immature. Millionaires too young? Man, like if John Morant and Zion Williamson stop playing basketball tomorrow, if their contract expires and they have no more endorsement deals, how fast will those guys run out of money? They're probably going to be broke by before the end of this year because those guys don't know how to act. How much money is Zion going to pay for fucking child support? And for this guy, Zion, to be more marketed, the fact that in 2019, Jokic was probably a top 10 player in the game by 2019. And the fact that everyone kept talking about Zion at Duke, everyone probably talked about Zion 100 times more than guys like Jokic and Giannis. Because for the longest time, when Zion was at Duke, the players that was talked about the most, LeBron James, obviously number one, the first year when he joined it about the Lakers, that was all the talks about LeBron in LA. Anthony Davis talk, rumors, trade talks. That happened. The talks was about Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, and Golden State. And then like the fifth most talked about guy was Zion at Duke. Oh, he's going to be the next prodigy. He's this. How many fucking games has Zion played? And for guys like Zion, did Zion get more All-Star votes than Jokic 2 years ago? Because if he did, I'm not going to double check that right now because it's not about that time to do. But guys like Zion and John Moran, do you see what Nikola Jokic has accomplished? You guys are talented, great, phenomenal athletes, but you're fucking up for this generation. You're fucking up. They could be the face of the league right now. They could take the torch from LeBron James and Steph Curry and be the next faces, but those two are just big idiots. And guys like Nikola Jokic and Giannis, the NBA doesn't really market them too much because they're international. And they honestly, quite honestly, they don't care about the fame. They really don't care. They don't care at all. But that's why they win. They're so humble. Jokic can be one of those guys like a Tim Duncan that like, oh, Jokic, you don't post that much. Like a lot of players, a lot of casual fans probably hasn't watched a Jokic game until the last like 2 months when the playoffs started. So if you guys had any friends that watch basketball that are not big fans, or any of your girlfriends watch basketball, how many people do you know that are just casual basketball fans who just watched the playoffs, watched Jokic for the first time this season? That's just absolutely unacceptable. That shouldn't happen. But those guys like Jokic and Giannis, they're the definition of greatness personified. Those two guys, I do think that if Luka can really seriously get in shape and get his act together and really, really, Mark Cuban, he better not fuck up on Luka because he's going to have a lot of questions. He fucked up from not resigning Brunson because Luka can be right there with Jokic and Giannis. So in the NBA today, guys like LeBron James, like couple years ago, he was right here, and Steph Curry was right here, and Kevin Durant was like right here. So LeBron was the top of the top for a long time, and now LeBron is kind of like down here, and Steph Curry's kind of like right here, and now it's 2023. Flash forward to today, Jokic and Giannis, they're both like right here. You could say that they're 1A and 1B and whatnot. I don't really care who you think's the best players today, but those guys are true definition of NBA greatness, NBA greats. They're both like 28 years old. So for them to be 28 years old and winning their first championship, Giannis was 26, obviously. So Michael Jordan was 28 when he won his first, and he just kept winning. Steph Curry, I believe, was like 26-ish when 27. He turned 27 like late 2015, if my math is right. Yes, Steph was 27 when he won his first ring, and then he ended up becoming a dynasty for Golden State. And who knows, like Steph Curry, his legacy might have been even greater if he didn't have Kevin Durant and had someone like an Andrew Wiggins type that's just better than Harrison Barnes. Golden State, would they have won a title in 2017 and 2018? without Kevin Durant, but if they have just like an all-star level small forward, because KD was obviously just too good of a player to join a team like that, man, just too good. So Jokic and Giannis. So you look at Steph Curry, what he's accomplished in like 2015, 16. Jokic 2023, in my opinion, he's kind of like what Steph is in 2016. Like that was all the talks that Steph Curry, oh, he could possibly be one of the best players all time. Oh, he could possibly be in the conversation with Magic. And now all these conversations, and let's not get carried away here. Jokic is one of the best big men all time. He's a top 6 to top 7 center, but for him to be compared, everyone's gonna compare him now. Like all of a sudden, we went from Jokic and Embiid debates like just like a month ago to now from Jokic to Kareem debates, Jokic to Shaq debates, Jokic to Hakeem debates. Like we're elevating Jokic that, but let's not get carried away and enjoy greatness. Let's just enjoy greatness to see where it is. Because Jokic, I do think that he could have a Tim Duncan caliber career if he wins a couple more rings and kind of be like Duncan in a way that he doesn't care about all the fame. He's super humble and caring. Same way as like Hakeem Olajuwon. Hakeem was never really the most popular guy as well. Even though he won those championships, I'm sure it would have been so much more insane that if Patrick Ewing was to win the 94 championship over Hakeem, because Ewing was super marketable. If Patrick Ewing would have won with the Knicks, some people probably would say he's a top 20 player all time because he was a super popular player in the bigger market. But Hakeem Olajuwon won, and he's just so good. And Jokic, he surpassed all those guys like Ewing, in my opinion, because Patrick couldn't get it done. He couldn't win a championship. He's definitely way better than Dwight Howard. He's better than Bill Walton. He's better than George Mikan. Well, George Mikan's so hard to rank. It's not really fair. He played in the 50s, and his competition was a lot of white guys from Ivy Leagues. And I would say he's better than Dave Cowens as an all-time center as well. And I would say probably better than Willis Reed. Yeah, because Willis Reed won 2 championships and an MVP, but he had to retire really early. So I have to give these centers my kudos too. I have to give these centers my kudos, but let's not get carried away. So the conversation's not yet with Jokic and Hakeem, because you look at Jokic's resume. Jokic, 2-time NBA MVP, 1-time NBA champion, 1-time NBA Finals MVP. Like I would say he's in the 7 range, to be fair, as a center. Just today, like if Jokic wins another championship next year, you could talk about him being possibly be in Hakeem's territory. But Jokic, he's only been 5-time All-Star, plenty more to come. He should be a lock pretty much as a starter all these years. 5-time All NBA, and yeah. But Jokic, I would say, yeah, him and Moses were an absolute debate. Moses has won one championship. Moses was the best player in the league from 80, from like 81 to like 83 range, because that was the gap. Like when you had like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar getting into his like mid 30s, it was pretty much Moses and then Larry. That was in the conversation as best player. So you could argue that Moses was the best player for a couple years, and Jokic is going to be the best players alongside Giannis for the next couple years, pretty much. So there you have it. Moses won 3 MVPs. Jokic has 2. Jokic probably should have won 3 MVPs. He honestly should have won a third, to be honest. But that's over now. Like, that doesn't even matter. He won the real MVP, and that's the championship. But the voters, are they going to have to respect Jokic to the point that they understand how good he is, that Jokic might actually be the favorites to win MVP even next season if he continues to post this stat line? Because how many MVP seasons can you say that didn't win it was as impressive as Jokic this past season, when he's averaging almost a triple-double, leading his team to the number 1 seed? If Jokic next season averages similar numbers and Denver, let's say, wins 61 games, who's going to beat him for MVP? Let's be honest now. If the Denver Nuggets continue to roll in the competition and they're the number 1 seed next season, Jokic might be the MVP favorite. There's no doubt about that. And all the haters might have to give him some respect. But that's just so fucked up about the NBA media and the fan base, the media base, and the voting criteria and all those nonsense too. Because let's be honest, a lot of you've been watching the NBA for so long, and I don't want to discriminate on anybody, but the fact that there's people out there, including some former NBA greats that know way more basketball than 99.9% of the world, they don't fucking have Jokic top 5 for MVP. That's fucking disrespectful. The fact that there's some media voters that don't want to vote for Jokic because of X, Y, and Z reasons, that's just idiotic. And the fact that there's some voters possibly that maybe watch only 1 or 2 Jokic games in their life and they get a fucking vote. And there's people that work in the industry that barely know the Denver Nuggets, that probably didn't even know Michael Porter and where he's from and whatnot, or Jamal Murray and what he did in the bubble. That's just unexcusable. The fact that there's so many people voting and giving a lot of reasons, their biased reasons why they shouldn't vote for this, that, because of their own personal agendas, that's just ridiculous. The people that should vote for MVP, in my opinion, like someone like me as a YouTuber who knows the NBA inside out, probably more than anybody in the world, to be honest, from a historical standpoint, in my age, like there's probably some old heads that like know more NBA than me that are in their 50s or 60 years old that knows more about the 80s and 90s than me, but nobody in their 20s know more NBA history than Wilson Tsai. And I like someone like me, like someone that knows as much basketball as me, should get an MVP vote over a lot of these media members. And I'm not disrespecting any of them, because you try to have a basketball conversation with some of those people, you know they're clueless. You just absolutely know they are. But the world is not a fair place. So we just have to deal with certain things. And the smartest people are always not put in the right positions to do X, Y, and Z and whatnot. Things can be super limited, but guess what? I'll always put my NBA knowledge out there. And Nikola Jokic, this is his NBA. This is his time to shine. And he absolutely deserves it. The Denver Nuggets are going to have a parade on Thursday. They're going to enjoy it. They're going to absolutely get enjoyed. Christian Brown, kudos to him too. Ish Smith, 13 teams, NBA champion with the Denver Nuggets. Reggie Jackson, from almost out the league to Paul George saving him for the Clippers and absolutely destroying Rudy Gobert. Like, Rudy Gobert, he got destroyed by a guy that doesn't even play on the Nuggets just 2 seasons ago. And Reggie Jackson, man, well, what a well-deserved champion. What a well-deserved ring. He absolutely rejuvenated himself and gave it his best. Peyton Watson, Zeke Naji, everybody on the Denver Nuggets. Whew, wow. They can all celebrate. Just absolutely celebrate. It should be a fan vote for MVP. I agree with that. I agree with that. And they're all going to vote for the fan vote. Some of it is ridiculous because I saw Derrick Rose had one first place vote for a fan vote. But, I mean, they're not really being serious out there. So there's always all this talk in politics, basketball. That's why we debate all the time. But there's one thing that we should not debate, that Jokic has been the best this season, and the Denver Nuggets are the best team this season. Whether you're a Joel Embiid fan, a LeBron fan, or a Luka Doncic fan, which fan base you guys think's most salty about Jokic winning? Probably Nick Wright. Probably crying right now. Like, it's funny that guys like Nick Wright, if LeBron had a better like advanced metric stat than Michael Jordan, Nick Wright would jizz on it. He would absolutely not stop talking about how LeBron's advanced stats are better. But when it comes to Jokic's advanced stats, it doesn't count. That's called hypocrisy at its finest right there. So when you make your arguments, just don't be like that, because people can see through that bullshit. I was wrong about Reggie Jackson, but he proved me wrong. He proved me wrong, and he won a ring. Reggie, from the Pistons days, to playing with Andre Drummond, and now to playing with Jokic, man, it's night and day. Maybe Andre Drummond can win a ring next if he plays with the Nuggets. But the NBA, the season, it seemed like yesterday when there were so many storylines coming in. The 22-23 season, a lot of expectations. Would Golden State repeat? Would the Milwaukee Bucks finally healthy with Chris Middleton? Would they win it all? Would Jokic and Jamal Murray win it all? Would the Phoenix Suns win it all? What were they gonna do? But then so many things has happened. What were the Lakers gonna do with Westbrook? Are they gonna be shit again? And you see all these things that happened throughout the season, from LA starting 2-10, Denver just being the consistent number one seed and nobody really caring about them, and to Miami, everyone thought they were just done for good. And for Milwaukee, Boston, they dominated most of the regular season. Like the first 3 months of the season, the Celtics was the best team. They under Joe Mazzulla, they played with great chemistry. Jason Tatum was in real MVP conversations for like the first 3 months of the year, and then he slowed down because it was Boston and Milwaukee as the two best teams, and Denver was creeping in, and the Sixers was creeping in too. And then all of a sudden, Embiid and Jokic got going, and then from like December, January, Jokic was the clear-cut MVP. He absolutely was running away with the award, and that's when all the narratives and all the hate started to happen. So the great Kobe Bryant once said that if you're good, nobody will care about you. But if you're great, you're going to get haters everywhere. And when you're great, you get haters. And that's exactly why Nikola Jokic is so great. He got a lot of haters and he shut everybody up. And they all go crying. Because Jokic, he was the runaway MVP like in January. And then all of a sudden, Embiid back and forth. Embiid's highlight of the year, he did win his regular season MVP. And yeah, he outplayed Jokic in January. And a lot of Philly fans are going to be hanging their hat on that. But it's about who ends the season on top. And it's Jokic. So this has been a crazy NBA year, from all the crazy memes and Patrick Beverley showing the referee with the burner account, the camera, that was hilarious when LeBron got fouled on that play. When CP3, rumors about him sleeping with Kim from Kanye. Those was this funny NBA season. From Ben Simmons just airballing a layup. He was so bad. And then you have this Zion Williamson mess and John Morant's mess. So the two biggest travesties off the court was Zion Williamson and John Morant. Those were the two biggest absolute travesties. And James Harden wanting to leave. Why? To where? Houston? Strip clubs? Doesn't he want to win a wing? He ain't gonna win shit with Houston. I wouldn't like James Harden on Houston, and I don't think he's ever gonna win a championship as a number 2 guy because he just doesn't have it, and he chokes every postseason. That's just a fact. That's something that Joel Embiid, he's got to figure out, man. He's got to be motivated. You know, Joel Embiid, like, he's kind of bitter. It's burning inside of him right now that he sees Jokic dominating and winning the championship. And yeah, that's probably Jokic's rival, to be honest. Like, but the two rivals, there's no really big NBA rivalry, like, so far. That's crazy. Like, it's not like Magic and Bird, to be honest. It's really not like that. I mean, Jokic is a level above Embiid, so you can't really call that a rivalry yet until they meet in the playoffs and they match up. If Jokic and Giannis meet in the playoffs, you could absolutely say that's a rivalry. I mean, you could kind of say LeBron versus Steph Curry's a rivalry too. They play so many playoff series together, 5 playoff series. That's kind of a rivalry in its way, to be honest. Like LeBron and Steph, 2 of the biggest stars from like the last like 10 years ish. That's been 2 of the most recognizable players. And now it's going to be Jokic and Giannis, I think. But they're going to have to meet in the finals. So this NBA thing, so like it's also really sad that LeBron and Steph Curry, they're kind of like in the down stage of their career. Like, both of them are still going to be all-star players next season. They're still going to be great. If they play enough games, they're probably going to make all NBA teams and whatnot. But they're kind of like going down in a way slowly. And then there's going to be like Jokic versus Giannis as the rivalry, as like the king of the NBA, as who's the really best. And then there's a rivalry of John Morant versus Zion Williamson, not being the best young players, but a rivalry on who can get more off-court troubles. So it's just really terrible to say. These young kids, these young American kids, they got to get their act together, man. I speak the truth. And the Clippers, what the fuck are they doing, man? The Clippers, they ain't gonna ever win a ring. I wouldn't be shocked if Kawhi Leonard announced his retirement after his contract's over, because what's his motivation now? If he's gonna fucking low manage all these games, why play the game? You play the game to win. And when you can't fucking play, and you're gonna take so much money off that team, $40 million a year ish, all these draft picks, how many playoff series wins to fucking already have won championships in other teams, and from this team for low managing, like, come on, man. Kawhi Leonard, he's a great player. He's definitely one of the best players, top 40 all time, I would say. But for him to choose to low manage, that is really disrespectful. For having a team trust in him for so much to play, 20 games a year, that's pathetic, man. That's so pathetic. And this low management shit, it doesn't work. It doesn't fucking work, low management. Jokic could have low management. Jokic 2021, he played every single game. And Jokic did sit out a couple games this season, but if you're gonna play basketball and be in shape to play and to go hard, if you're not gonna play much in the regular season and all of a sudden you go hard and then you get hurt, guess what? Your body's not used to it. So this low management thing, in my opinion, unless you're just old and really, really hurt, like you got a foot fracture or you have some knee issues for real, that's when I do think that regular season you could low manage if you're LeBron James's age, because he played like so many minutes, second most minutes all time. I believe he's gonna be number one, and that too. Low management shit, that doesn't work. Adam Silver's gotta be stricter on that shit, because low management, you know what? Michael Jordan in the 90s, look at all the years he's played 82 games. And who was the best player standing in June? Michael Jordan. Karl Malone, 82 games, year in and year out. Don't give me that low management bullshit. Karl Malone and John Stockton, they played so many 82 game seasons together. They made the finals at age 35, and Stockton was 36 in 98. It's not low management that got them to the finals. It's actually the opposite of that. Low management, get out of here with that nonsense, because your body has to be used to playing physical level of basketball. You can't all of a sudden be in half basketball shape and then the playoffs is a different intensity and then you play way too hard. You got to get hurt. So in the regular season, you cruise, you don't play at the hard, you don't play as hard. You have to develop those nice muscle memories. So low management is bullshit, which is why I hated Coach Bud for many years, in my opinion. Because Coach Bud, before Giannis won a championship, why do you think Giannis won in 2021? Because Coach Bud was playing Giannis 30 minutes a game, even in the playoffs in 2019 and 2020. Why was Giannis playing like 31 minutes a game? It wasn't until when Giannis was playing 42 minutes that he won a championship against the Nets in that 7-game series. The Bucks could have easily lost that series, but Giannis played his 42 minutes, 45 minutes, and he got it done. And in the playoffs, you need guys to play heavy minutes like that. Jokic, look at all those games that he's played 40-plus minutes. And you have to give credit to Nikola Jokic, because in 2019, remember that 4 overtime game against the Portland Trailblazers when he was like looking really fat and he was huffing and puffing? That 4 overtime game, Jokic was kind of out of shape back then. There was some conditioning issues, but Jokic got himself in even better shape. And just look at him playing 45 minutes now. That's because of conditioning. That's because you got to get used to playing all those minutes. So low management is just terrible for the league. If you're going to get injured in any way in the playoffs, like Kawhi, I wish his health the best. His knees are definitely not good and probably has really bad knees. That's just, his body's just built differently. And it seems like he's breaking down because Kawhi's like, what, 32 years old-ish? Yeah, Kawhi Leonard's going to be 32 if he hasn't turned it already. So for him to low manage and still get hurt in the playoff time, the hell was all that shit about? Tristan Thompson low managed this season to get swept by Jokic. But Tristan Thompson ain't ever low managing at the clubs, I'll tell you that. He played 82 games in 4 straight seasons. He probably goes out 365 days, 7 days a week, cheating on his biddies in public. Because I actually know people that work in the clubs in New York City. Like, the club was actually PhD. This is true story from someone. Like, Tristan Thompson, PhD, nightclub in New York City. Like, people saw him cheating on when he was with the Kardashian I don't follow Kardashian, so I might like not say some of their names properly. So Tristan Thompson was actually cheating in front of everybody because he's the tallest guy at the club. Like, if he's the only NBA player there, he's going to be the tallest one, obviously. But there's no shame to that. Tristan Thompson loves that shit. So Tristan Thompson might be the cheating goat when it comes to the nightlife and just being on that. But that's a good life if you can handle it. Like Tristan Thompson, I'm sure he's doing well on ESPN, talking a lot of shit, talking about his playing days. As long as he's got money and he doesn't have to pay child support like Zion potentially, Tristan Thompson's chilling. He's chilling. Good for him. Interesting to see that certain players they have talent that's actually better than their basketball talents, and Tristan Thompson's talents getting with everybody in public. Denver Nuggets, wow. Time flies when you're having fun. And tonight, an hour 20 minutes live stream. I could keep talking about NBA forever. You know what? I don't gotta really wake up tomorrow. It's almost 2 a.m. on the East Coast. I'm gonna scroll up the comments now and see what I miss. See what I miss. Lots of good comments here. Lots of good comments. The haters are crying right now. They crying. Hope Bruce Brown stays. Yep. Embiid, is he gonna make top 100? He probably will. He probably will. Embiid will come out stronger next season. He was strong this year. He just got to be strong in the playoffs and stop flopping. How many times did Jokic flop today, though? Jokic knows when to flop. He maybe flops like 5 times, like every 2 games and whatnot, but Jokic knows how to flop and gets the call. Embiid just does it way too many times. CP3. John Elway has a status. I do think he does. Yep. Jokic rather play with his horses. Yep. Peyton Manning doesn't have a status. Nah. He came to Denver late, though, but he was a beast. Winning that Super Bowl in his last season, that was something, man. That defensive team was so good. Doc Rivers blew another 3-2 lead. AD, nah, he ain't no leader. Who will win the 99 Knicks or the 23 Heat? That's a good one. That's a really good debate. But if Jimmy Butler was at his best, I'm going with the 23 Heat because the 99 Knicks, by the time they got to the finals, they did not have Patrick Ewing. So without Ewing, I'm going to go with Miami. But with Ewing, with a healthy Ewing, I'll go with the Knicks. They were both really good teams, man. Allen Houston, Latrell Sprewell. I think it'll be a seven game series, but with Patrick Ewing there in the lineup, I would go with New York. New York was good. Chris Childs, Chris Duckley as their center, guarding Duncan in the finals. Grandmama, Marcus Camby when he was like 23 years old. Camby was a beast in that Indiana series. He's one of the best players to never make the All-Star team. Imagine if Jokic had muscles. Imagine if Steph Curry had Russell Westbrook athleticism. Like, sometimes things cannot be perfect, to be honest. Because if you're too perfect, it's just not fair. But Jokic doesn't need to have he doesn't need to be muscular. His brother's got muscles. I mean, he's got family muscles. I mean, Jokic probably has so strong muscles from growing up with his big brothers when he's the younger brother. So imagine like what they would do to him and when they were play fighting. Like Jokic got muscles, man. Like Jokic, he would beat up a lot of people for sure, even people his size. Like the only NBA player that can probably toss Jokic around is Steven Adams, and that might be tough for Big Steven, honestly. Because I can see Jokic. You see Jokic throw Jamal Murray at the pool today when they won that championship. Like Jokic is a big boy. He's strong, super strong. Like what he did to Markieff Morris, you don't want to mess with Jokic. You definitely don't. He's built different. He absolutely is. young American players are spoiled? Hell yeah, they are. They got to get their shit together. The only young American player that seems like they have a good head in mind is like Jason Tatum, but and Devin Booker. Devin Booker was acting a little childish in ways when he was mocking Luca, but he seemed to mature a lot this year. Give credit to Devin Booker. Zion was a former cover athlete. That's crazy. Joker making me like basketball. Go play some basketball this summer. Why not? Beautiful summertime. Just do some cardio. I mean, if you play basketball this summer, you might already, and you play pickup games like every week. You probably played more than Kawhi over the last year. Luca needs to improve on his defense. Absolutely, yeah. He needs to get his shit together. He wasn't in a good state of mind this year, and it's pretty obvious too. He had some personal issues to deal with, but something we don't need is to really talk about. 5 championships is hard to achieve. That's why TD is almost impossible. I agree. Like NBA players, there's always going to be great NBA players in every generation. And right now, we're living in the Jokic and Giannis era. And even for me, like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, before Giannis and Jokic won their titles, I sometimes question, will there ever be another guy that's going to be top 10 in NBA? Because the league's been around since like the 40s. And obviously, like Bill Russell and Will Chamberlain, as good as they were, and given how the NBA was back then, not much competition. The talent level wasn't as high. Basketball wasn't really as advanced. But to be honest, you can't discredit guys like Bill Russell and Will Chamberlain and Wilt's like crazy stats and Bill Russell's 11 titles. You can't discredit that. You absolutely can. So it's hard to like kind of like for any modern player to knock those guys out. And those guys are still considered top 5 or top 10 players wherever you want to put them. It's so hard, man. Guys like Tim Duncan's a top 10 player winning 5 championships. And guys like Kobe Bryant's up there winning 5 championships. Michael Jordan, 6-0. And he dominated. LeBron James is, many people say he's number 2. And look at his career and how many people are ever going to be close to accomplishing what he does. And look at guys like Magic Johnson and Larry Bird. Magic Johnson and Larry Bird meant so much to the NBA, way more to their accomplishments. If you're talking about like the most famous, the most impactful NBA players to help change basketball, the answer is still the number 1 icon is Michael Jordan. Number 2 and 3 might still be Magic and Bird, in my opinion. If you really know and understand the game of basketball and its history, you know what I'm talking about. For you younger fans that don't know much about Magic and Bird, you probably disagree with me, but you know about the history of the game and how it's elevated. Magic and Bird, obviously, I still think it's like 2 and 3. And then obviously there's guys like LeBron, like Iverson, not as great as those guys, but he changed the game in a lot of ways too. And the street ball era and ones, 2000s. Street ball was a hot thing back in the day. Rafer Alston's, those guys, Stephon Marbury's. That was a dope era of basketball. None of those guys were like crazy remembered, but that was how ball was back then. It was lit. So yeah, like there's gonna be some players like every decade, like that's why the game of basketball is so great. Kind of like how Bill Russell sets the standard for winning. No one's gonna surpass that. No, I don't see anybody as a player winning 11 championships. And Bill Russell would have won like 7 or 8 Finals MVP. So I made a video on that. If you want to check that out in your free time, I made pretty much video on a lot of NBA stuff that you thought about, like from a historical standpoint. And then there's guys like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Like Kareem still has a case for being the greatest player all time, from the most MVPs to 6 championships, 19-time All-Star, the most unstoppable shot of all time. He's still up there. So there's him too. And his standard for anyone trying to pass Kareem, like some people probably still don't think LeBron has passed Kareem officially. It's still kind of debatable, but most people side with LBJ. But for someone to even surpass Kareem Jabbar as a basketball player and his accomplishments, that's almost impossible, to be honest. So So NBA players, the past generations, they set high standards. Magic Johnson and Larry Bird, those guys won like 75, over 75% of their games, if I'm not mistaken, around that mark. And they led their team to an average of what, 55 wins every year, like they've been in the league. That's just consistency for greatness, and how they able to change the culture and make the game of basketball so global and so fun. Like those guys, like Magic and Bird probably was like 2 and 3 as the best players. Like if you're talking about the best player all time, if this was the year like 2005, like I guarantee you, like before LeBron was getting his longevity stuff and getting all the accomplishment, no one really admired Kareem Abdul-Jabbar from afar until LeBron was starting to get those longevity numbers. Everyone did have to recognize Kareem as one of the best, having super high longevity. But before that, though, a lot of people were saying that Magic and Bird were 2 and 3 all time, and people weren't even thinking about Kareem. They were thinking about Wilt and Russell more than Kareem, because Kareem wasn't really a personable guy, and he was he wasn't friendly with the media. So there is that. So there's a lot of standards for the all-time greats. And then after that era, you have Michael Jordan, who just set the standard so high, like it's just impossible to get. Like from Michael Jordan, it's like if you lose one finals, you're already fucked. So people like to compare LeBron to Jordan. LeBron did lose his first finals, but he was super young at the time, and his team was overmatched. And then that 2011 finals was just really bad. But how LeBron just bounces back. He did make 8 straight finals, didn't win them all, but he always put himself in a position. So LeBron kind of set some longevity standards. Michael Jordan set the winning standards. LeBron set longevity standards. So we actually got to see a glimpse of every ounce of LeBron James from his like teenage years all the way till he's probably gonna play till early 40s. I'm expecting. So we got to see every year of LeBron. Then we didn't even get to see some of Michael Jordan's years when he just didn't play ball anymore because he dominated. So we're missing like 2, 3, 4 years of Michael Jordan greatness that he probably would have won another MVP or another multiple championships had he not retired. That's a topic for another day. But that's just the standard set by the great players from past generations. And then there's guys like Tim Duncan, who's kind of like a Steph Curry and a Jokic, super humble, who loves his teammates, who gets it done, consistent, night in and night out, and they never stop improving. Guys like Tim Duncan, he used to be one of the best scorers in the league in the early 2000s, and Duncan became more of a defensive anchor when the offense was more spread out with Ginobili and Tony Parker scored more points. Duncan was still able to score his 20 plus on certain nights, but he didn't really have to. And when he focused on defense and did what was better for the team, and he got his fair share, dude, San Antonio, there's a reason why Tim Duncan contended for every year of his career, and he kind of set the standard too. Guys like Kobe Bryant set the standards as well. Even though he wasn't as great as Michael Jordan, and he's my favorite player all time is Kobe, the late great Kobe. Miss him every day. But his work ethic and excellence, how he's able to overcome a lot of adversity. He had a lot of early success. He had the clutch gene early on to finding a new identity with a new team and just like a kind of a new culture and figuring out how to get the best of his teammates, elevating some good role players like Odom and guys like Andrew Bynum and then Pau Gasol, elevated Gasol to one of the best international prospects too, and just winning championships that way. And how Kobe was able to win it the hard way too, for staying put with the Lakers and just competing at the highest level and winning number 5. Like that's a high standards to achieve for any player that want to model their game and be the next Kobe Bryant like that. So it's like it's going to be super difficult for any guard to be as good. There's a lot of great players today, but how many players actually put in the work on both ends and really compete and does whatever it takes to absolutely win and play hard? How many guys are built like that today? There's not many. So, but there's always going to be like 2 or 3 great ones. And those are the guys in the 2000s. And then you have the Steph Curry guys who's the greatest player in one aspect, which is shooting the basketball, and how he's able to create a culture to guys having like Klay Thompson and Draymond Green for them to kind of elevate and everybody getting along with Steph Curry because there has never been a teammate that says a negative thing, one negative thing about Steph Curry, and I believe that's kind of going to be like Jokic too. So Steph Curry is also incredible in his own right for this generation. Kevin Durant's kind of like stuck in the middle. Kevin Durant is not in the Kobe or Duncan conversation. He just joined so many teams. He kind of tries to be like LeBron in a way where he's not as powerful as LeBron. He tries to go here and then there and just doesn't win. And he doesn't really play his. He's usually amazing most playoffs, but Kevin Durant also's got a lot of injuries the latter part of his career, and there's always going to be all those what ifs with KD too. Couldn't really lead OKC and Russell Westbrook and the Brooklyn Nets situation. Can't really blame too much on him. His teammates failed him, but just Kevin Durant just not finding his real identity, not finding real joy. Just it just seems kind of weird for KD. So I don't put him in that Tim Duncan level, that Steph Curry level, or that Kobe Bryant level. So this is some of my NBA knowledge. And I also have to mention Shaq too. Just so powerful and dominant. He was a cheat code. He didn't really need much skill, but he was just a beast in his prime. So, but it's Jokic and Giannis. I would say that, in my opinion, that if you're talking about a Shaq Duncan and Kobe in the 2000s, to be honest, it's kind of like Giannis, Jokic, and Doncic. I would say Embiid's probably, if Embiid ever wins a title, he'll probably go down as a Kevin Garnett caliber player. Just to be fair, I do think that Jokic is capable of going down as much as Tim Duncan. You could kind of compare the two. And Giannis is kind of like Shaq. Giannis just works harder, but he's not as dominant. He's not as big, not as strong, but he definitely puts more work into his game than Shaq. Shaq was just a force of nature, and Giannis is a force of nature too. He works so hard, but Shaq, his physical gifts are just unmatched. So Giannis is kind of like Shaq in a way, and Jokic is kind of like Duncan. And I would say Luka Doncic. If Luka Doncic has that work ethic, like he's gonna have better all-around stats than Kobe from an assist standpoint in today's NBA. But if Luka doesn't work on his defense, if he doesn't work on his leadership and whatnot, and he doesn't like elevate his teammates like highly for everyone to get better, Luka Doncic, he's an all-time talent, but he's got to figure out all the other things that Jokic figured out, that Giannis figured out. So he's only like 24 years old right now. So Luka Doncic's got time. He's got time, but Dallas, they got a lot to figure out, and Luka can definitely be that guy. Victor Wembanyama, he's still way too young. He's one of the best prodigies coming from a draft standpoint, but he's only like 19 years old. So he could be one of the best players of all time. Who knows? But it's not his time yet. It's going to be his time when he gets drafted number one in a couple weeks. But right now, this is Jokic's time. It's Kendrick Perkins' time to cry. Perk probably needs to take a vacation and go somewhere far away so he doesn't have to get heckled. Perk probably shouldn't even go to. He should probably stay away from Serbia. Oh, they probably gonna get on him. Kendrick Perkins might be the most hated NBA player in Serbia. You agree with that? Do you agree? I don't see Kate Cunningham being that good yet. He's got a lot of work to do. Missed his second full season. He's got to get his head in the right place. So there it is. 2 a.m. on the East Coast. Jamal Murray. Which Denver Nuggets you think is most messed up, most fucked up right now from drinking their alcohol? Who looks like the best drinker? I'm gonna go with Christian Brown. He seems like he could drink. I'm sure he's got plenty of drinking experience from winning the title at Kansas just last year. Jeff Green probably messed up too. Jokic can probably handle his alcohol better than anybody. Probably gets red. But Christian Brown is young as hell, but he's still legal to drink. He's still legal. That's great. Like, it would probably be messed up. Like, if you're 19 Magic Johnson, when he won his first Finals MVP, he wasn't even legal to drink yet. That's crazy. Damn. It's pretty remarkable that a lot of these players, like, they achieve such high success and they're so young. Like, do they even know what, like, they're, like, when they look back at their careers, like even when they're like 25, they see what they accomplished with their team at 21. Like, damn, they really had it. This must be fun. Must be fun. Will the Rockets bring back Jalen Green and sing? They probably will. They will. They're gonna go with their young team. They gotta mature up though. They need a lot of veteran leadership, and CP3 would be a better fit than Harden on that team. Harden just cares about the strip clubs, and if you're a young 21-year-old athlete, you love the good-looking woman, especially you single, but you need some mature guy to show you the ropes. Like guys like a DeAndre Jordan's a good mentor. Udonis Haslam, those guys are good. And James Harden's like 33 or 34, and he's still wilding out. There's nothing wrong with that, but James Harden's like personality is like 10 years younger than him. Like some people just never get sick of that life, but it's good for him that he enjoys it. Everybody has their favorite stuff, activities and whatnot, but for James Harden being a mentor, that's not a way to go. I mean, James Harden is he probably like a strip club legend like J.R. Smith, but James Harden is just a way better basketball player than that. Like, imagine if James Harden ever wins a championship, all the strip clubs be going crazy. But we probably never gonna see that though. Like if a guy like Harden won a championship, he probably goes to like Vegas Strip privacy district with all the high end stuff going on. It's probably gonna be like 10 a university of big mansions of whatever he loves. That would be a classic story. Free VIP access. If there's two NBA players I would love to see party, like both in their primes, James Harden and Dennis Rodman. James Harden would get too hammered. I don't think he'd be able to play for probably weeks if he takes 30 shots a night. Dennis Rodman was another animal. Rodman's probably the GOAT of partying. Will Chamberlain's the GOAT with women. And I'll leave it at that. I'll leave it at that. There is that. And the Denver Nuggets, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. What a season for Nikola Jokic. Dennis Rodman's the GOAT of rebounding. He could have been the GOAT of world peace, getting North Korea and everything together and whatnot. Like, imagine he single handedly. I'm not going to get into politics. No need to talk about that. But Dennis Rodman is just super unique. Dennis Rodman. Oh, I have a funny Dennis Rodman story from one of my former classmates in college. He used to be a taxi driver. I don't know if he is now, but one time he told me that he picked up Dennis Rodman, I believe, in the airport, and he knew that it was Dennis Rodman, and Dennis Rodman was just chatting. And then at the end of the ride, Dennis Rodman left him a $200 tip. So that's one of the Dennis Rodman stories that I have to share that one of my classmates told me, and that's amazing. That's cool stuff from Dennis. Seems like he loves life, and he's just one of a kind. Like I was too young in the 90s watching NBA, but there's just certain things in certain eras that I'm too young for that I miss Jordan's time with the Bulls, like, and I miss Dennis Rodman's time. It would have been amazing to see like what is really like with Dennis Rodman. He's just so built different. There's no NBA players like that today. There's no players like that today. So Dennis, one of a kind athlete. Like who enters the NBA at 25, 26? That was unknown at age 22. That was pretty much a nobody, just working at the airport as like a security and just like being broken, just uncertain about his future and become the best rebounder all time. He's just a different animal. Like it's almost impossible to have another athlete like that because when you're like 21, you kind of know if you have it in, or not. You kind of realistic about your goals. Like if you're 21 and you're playing a high level D1 ball or just maybe mid level, you know you have a chance to make the league. But if you're 21 and you're not that coordinated as an athlete and then you become such a beast and make it to the pros, that's just one of a kind. Like Dennis Rodman is just so different in that aspect. Like most of you know that when you're like 16 years old, if you're good enough to make the NBA or not, most people just know. But just guys that just have crazy growth spurts that become 6'1" to like 6'8" overnight. All you wish you had that. This is crazy. That's just crazy. Hakeem and Drexler's time in H Town. How about when they were with Slamma the 80s, the 83 team? That was a nice college team. Made a couple of national title games, but losing. Lost to NC State and Georgetown. I follow some college hoops too back then. You heard a story about Dennis Rodman buying all merchandise from Toys R Us to give away to sick children. Dennis does a lot of good stuff. He does a lot of good stuff. He definitely would need to have a crazy coach like a Phil Jackson to be able to go by today's NBA. You can't do shit with social media these days. Everybody recording, everyone knowing about everybody's business, us knowing about Zion's business. Ah, sometimes these players just have to like take a step back. Like if you're not doing social media to market your brand and do what's like good, and you're using social media to party, there's people just gonna try to find dirt on you, and that's just tough for a lot of athletes today. So there's pros and cons compared to back then, but the really good ones like Jokic don't even have social media, man. How crazy is that? Like Jokic, he doesn't care about not having like IG or whatnot. I know Twitter. His brother's got a Twitter, and you definitely don't want to mess with that Twitter account if you're a Morris related fan. So don't do that. But Jokic, he just lives and chills. Like the only NBA player that probably, if they were playing in today's era, back in the 2000s, that would not have Twitter is Tim Duncan. He'd probably just be like Jokic. Duncan just chills and does his thing and relaxes. Kawhi Leonard doesn't have social media. So there's a few athletes that are like that are just wired differently. But Jokic is truly special, super unique, a special talent in the NBA. It's getting late, so I'm gonna head to get my rest, and I'll make some videos about Jokic related content for the next couple of weeks because the Denver Nuggets absolutely deserve this. For those of you who stay for this long up to this point in my live stream, truly appreciate you, appreciate your support. I'll continue making NBA content and share my NBA knowledge and post a lot of NBA history videos with the draft coming up and whatnot. And next season's free agency, you're going to hear a lot of rumors, a lot of trade talks, a lot of Laker nonsense. But right now, let's enjoy Nikola Jokic and the Denver Nuggets and just cherish everything that they have accomplished this season. And love y'all for your support. Jokic, incredible. Denver Nuggets. See you guys soon. Peace. Love y'all.